Welcome back. I'm Alfred Lambermont Weber. Today is Sunday, October 27th, and we have the great privilege to be with Ole Dammegard, who's coming to us from Spain. Ole, you're going to give us a special update on Operation Sea Eagle and all the ramifications. So please, let me turn the microphone over to you. Thank you.
Listen, Alfred, first of all, I want to thank you for being so fast to reacting. I mean, when I contacted you last time, it's because we were in a situation where I felt that we need to blow the whistle very, very fast to be able to possibly stop what I believe to be like a European version of 9/11, but maybe even worse. And you and some other shows were very, very fast to react. And when within 24 hours we had spread this warning out to several hundred thousands of people. So I want to rewind a little bit, so I'll just recap what happened. And I was recently on tour in Sweden, and I was exposing especially the alleged terror attack on Drottninggatan in central Stockholm on April 7th, 2017. And we were really heavily attacked along this tour. We met absolutely mind-blowingly beautiful people, but we were also really messed around with. And I'll just give you an example. I was doing one talk in Stockholm, and I was sort of losing concentration. I wasn't feeling really good, so I felt, I should have slept more. And I took a break pretty early. I went out, and in the intermission, there was this guy who approached me who is apparently quite famous in Sweden when it comes to filming 5G towers and with advanced measuring equipment and so on. And what he showed was that when we were having the break, the radiation was 217 microwatts per square meter. But when I was speaking, where I was standing, it was it was somewhere between 100 and 200,000 microwatts per square meter, which is like it's like 1,000 times higher than should have been there. So no wonder that I was a bit confused. And then we drove to the next place, and my tour manager was sitting talking in his cell phone, and boom, suddenly it was like lightning struck his head through his cell phone. So he almost pulled off the road, or drove off the road. So anyway, we recovered. The next place we were, I saw somebody in a red uniform filming the RV we were driving around in. So we shouted to him and, went thumbs up and well done, peace sign and please bugger off. Then we came to the next place, and when we finished, it was in the middle of the night, I came out and we were going to pack the RV, and the whole RV stank of marijuana. I mean, really, like not just a tiny, it stank. So I got the host down. We filmed the whole thing. I said, listen, it's 2:02:19 a.m. We're here packing the road, and I come up, and there's just this incredible smell of marijuana. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the whole thing apart. If we don't find anything and we still get pulled over maybe a few miles down the road, please notice this was recorded beforehand. And so if they make a drug bust with like 400 kilos of marijuana or whatever, putting us away forever, this is major proof that it was planted. Anyway, so we took off, and the smell disappeared after a while. Also, the host had been filming my lecture about this alleged attack, and in the morning when she woke up, the memory card had been erased, except for the things that did not have to do with the attack on Drottninggatan. Pretty interesting, I would say. Thank God they managed. She had a friend who's a really technical wizard, so he managed to recreate the memory card, and so they managed to put these 8 episodes about the attack online, where the sound is a little bit not super duper, but it's still up there. So thousands and thousands of people are now taking part of what I exposed as this, what actually happened at this attack. So the next place we went to, nothing happened, but the hosts, the couple that were hosting this thing, in the morning afterwards, they were driving a friend to the bus station, and they were pulled over by a police car with 4 policemen in it. That is not normal in Sweden. Normally there's 2 in each car. And anyway, they were stopped, and the guy had forgot his driver's license, and he said, "I'm very sorry, I totally forgot." And the police said, "No, don't worry, this is not a normal control. This is a good day control," whatever that means. And so he had all the people in the car to identify themselves, and also lean forward. So I don't know if he had some kind of facial recognition thing, or if he just took a closer look at them. I don't know, but that is very unusual in just a normal stop like that. Normally you would have to show your driver's license. Maybe you would have to do an alcohol test or whatever, so you weren't drunk driving. Anyway, but when they were about to take off, the police officer said very politely that please drive safely, because it's very easy to get killed in traffic accidents. And the people, when they took off, it was like, what the hell was that? Because that sounded like a mild but still death threat, Anyway, these wonderful people are Vikings, so that just fueled their passion, to stand up. Anyway, so we've had some major things. Also, when I spoke in Copenhagen, the energy there was just unreal. I mean, people were having like thunderbolt headaches, and several people were having major, pain in the back. One person almost puked and had to lie down, and the technical stuff, the volume was just going up and down and up and down. And I just felt we're facing the beast. That is my feeling. We're face to face with the beast. It almost felt like he was breathing at me, whatever that power is, I don't know, but it certainly felt like we were in the presence of something very dark, but we stood up in love and compassion and total fearlessness. So it was a beautiful event. And anyway, so while on the road, or while looking into this alleged terror attack in Stockholm that took place on April 7th, 2017, a friend of mine stumbled across a video that I don't think was meant to be seen by us on the outside. It's almost like a TED Talk type of scenario, where he is talking in front of what is called Samverkan, which means cooperation of Stockholm, the different organizations, like fire brigade, ambulances, police, military, government, that thing, and how to coordinate the whole thing. And in it, he says that they had been training, the drill is always part of these alleged terror attacks if they're false flag operations. And so he said they had planned for a drill on May the 10th, 2017, called Operation Styrbjörn. But then something happened, and instead this drill took place, his words, the drill took place on April 7th, 2017, which was exactly when the terror attack happened. So I believe that I might have been part of disrupting this operation, the first one, Operation Styrbjörn, on May 10th, because I think that their idea and plan was to attack Denmark, Copenhagen, on April 9th. And I had, if I remember right, you were part of blowing the whistle on that one. So we had people in Copenhagen just waiting for it to happen, because I'd found very strong leads that this was going to go down in central Copenhagen, right in front of the entrance to Tivoli, the big amusement park, which is that is the national, most Danish thing ever in Copenhagen, very, very vulnerable as an emotional target for the nation of Denmark. And right in front of it, there are these 5 round towers, newly built, where I believe that the leads were pointing straight to that. So I had people there, and we were live on radio, just waiting for it to happen. And they started seeing that, oh, the bus routes were being redirected in other directions. There were roadwork coming up. And I said, now we're onto them. We're going to film this when it goes down, and that will just blow the whole thing up. And then when we were so into it, boom, it happened in Stockholm instead. And I believe you have been part also of exposing a company called crisis-solutions.com that they have a video, or they used to have one, that is bragging about how they have something called Crisis Cloud, where they can, in these crises, they call them simulations or games. They love the games with players, where they can hit multiple targets, even on different continents at the same time. How convenient is that if you want to get global terror on the road? So I exposed this company in an interview on STT Report, among others, I think on your show as well. And that one on STT Report, it had 280,000 views in 10 days, very, very much. And then right after that, this crisissolutions.com, their website went down. So I went out in a new interview and said, isn't that a bit suspicious that it just disappeared? Boom, now, and boom, it was back up, but without the video. And every time I put the video up, boom, it gets shut down. So I think I'm onto something, including on my external hard drives, it keeps disappearing. Go figure. So I think that company is highly, highly suspicious in the Westminster Bridge and other attacks. And not only, I think that crisis-solutions.com company is also, if not the same company, then in the same network as Crisis X on New Zealand, where they had a conference right before the Christchurch attack. And I believe there's another one, Crisis Cast, which I believe also could very well be connected to this. There's also another company in Sweden called Criscom, that's C-R-I-S-C-O-M, Criscom. And they even have a software called Exonaut, E-X-O-N-A-U-T, Exonaut, where they can coordinate and, direct these type of drills, where they talk about players and contra players, so where they play both sides, I think, because they are both sides in these alleged crises. Anyway, so in this presentation, a man he's the chief coordinator of Länsstyrelsen, which is the central organ in Stockholm, coordinating all of these things. His name is Ole Dammegard. And in this presentation, he says, in front of cameras, once again, I don't think this was meant to come out to be viewed by people like us. But anyway, he says, as part of the drill, he raised the terror threat level 1 minute before the attack happened. So he sent an email out to all the different parts of government, raising the terror level, or the terror alert level, 1 minute before the attack happened. And the attack could have been just a normal accident. This truck, the driver could have had an epileptic seizure. It could have been drunk driving. How did they know that it was a terror attack right away? Because they were the ones carrying it out. And I've exposed this in big details, great detail before. Do you know the last time the real presentation I had done about this attack was shut down was the very same day that the court case started against this alleged terrorist. They shut everything down that had to do with that case the day the court case started. Once again, go figure. It's amazing. So because if I've ever seen a smoking gun, that is one. I mean, we just caught them with their pants down. So I started tracking down this person, Ole Dammegard, to see what this individual was up to, because if they were so directly involved in the terror attack in Stockholm, where most of the people involved of them in this thing was not Swedes, I think, but experienced so-called players, But just because people have ambulance uniforms or firefighter uniforms or police uniforms or SWAT team uniforms does not mean that they're actually Swedish people, in them. It just means somebody is walking around in one of these uniforms. And I tracked them down one by one, many of them. Also, I have a contact inside in one of the central police stations that should have been the ones doing this whole thing. All of them were on leave or on conferences. None of them were there that day. And still we see a lot of people running around in police uniforms and so on. So I say, this is not longer just suspicion, but this is very, very real. So I started tracking him down, and people were helping me. And one of the things that we found in his Twitter account was that this Twitter account is very small. He only had like 217 followers. And I believe these followers were people on the inside. This was not supposed to be seen by people like us. And also, they're very arrogant, people like this. They're very arrogant, superior. And they know that they're untouchables, because up until now they have been. So in it, he says that they're training for Operation Havsörn 2019, which means Sea Eagle. But I believe that this is only the Swedish name, and I think every single NATO country that will have been involved in this whole thing will have their own name of this operation. So I'm very much welcoming people in different NATO countries to look into this thing. Anyway, it was supposed to go down on October 23 and October 24 with a duration of 36 hours. And they had decided on 39 different locations. That's 39 different locations, my way of understanding it, but his numbers, in 5 different cities. These cities were London, England, Manchester, England, Paris, France, Barcelona, Spain, and Rotterdam, the Netherlands. In addition, there were 2 nuclear power plant disasters planned as drills in Älvkarleby in the north of Sweden and Forsmark, just northeast of Uppsala in Sweden, where they said that there was 1,600 people involved in this operation. But I think, and with 77 different government organs involved in this whole thing. But I think maybe those 1,600 were in a total when we look at the whole European thing, because not only was it these 5 cities, but also, for instance, with this new nuclear power plant exercise, there were people from Norway, Finland, Iceland, and also you had the United Nations European atomic blah 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 there as observers. So also he says in his Twitter account in the beginning of October that they just celebrated their 500th meeting. That's 500 meeting in this type of cooperation. I tell you, we're looking at a massive, massive, massive operation that are, I believe, the terror tool of the deep state, the global deep state. We're looking at it right in the face. NATO operated, just like I've said so many times, the global tour of terror. It's state-sponsored NATO operations. The US military, private contractors, a small little unit that is being transported in C-130 Hercules planes, including everything from directors, crisis actors, marketing agents, catering, makeup, fireworks, pyrotechnics, explosives, military advisors, and also bodyguards and controllers of this little group that are being transported from location to location, landing after sunset on military strips, like military air bases, NATO or the US military, and then transported on to location in buses. These buses are then used to transport crisis acts, everything needed on location. And then when these operations are activated, there's first a drill where everything is being tested, rehearsed, high quality photos are taken so that they are sure of having the photos needed to spread this terror porn globally. And also some of the so-called live footage is filmed that day so that they can use it in them. If you notice, there are never ever any terror attacks on a rainy day, because maybe they need to make sure that both the rehearsals and the live thing are with the same weather reports, because some of it is fake, some of it is real, and they mix the two of the live broadcasting things when these are. You can just see the background, check the clouds, and check the shadows on the pavement and so on. You will see that very often they cut between different cuts. You know, this is live from London. Absolutely not. It was filmed the other day, and this might be live from London. You know, so it's these type of things you need to look out for. So, yeah, one thing that they keep naming these things is resilience. And I think resilience is almost like a code word. I'm speculating now, but a code word for real terror. That you have the 100 cities of resilience, this resilience summit, the meeting, the resilience this, the resilience that. That's a code word for the people involved, that for their understanding, this is the real deal, not this terror crap that we feed the masses. This is it. And because I keep bumping into that word. And so, thanks to wonderful people like yourself and so many people listening to this whole thing, we got to spread out to hundreds of thousands of people. Because you know what, Alfred, do you know what the date, October 24, what is that? That is the day of the United Nations, the creation of the United Nations, the anniversary, meaning that had these 39 plus 2 nuclear power plant explosions, plus maybe multiple more minor things, happened during the same 48 hours or 36 hours that they're talking about, at the same time at the anniversary and the United Nations Day, meaning that the United Nations would be the target. We're back to the old operation, you know, like false flag operation. What does that mean? It means that the attacked one is actually the attacker. The attacked one is actually the attacker, meaning here that the United Nations would be the attacked one, and then that would give them the reason to retaliate. And through this series of attacks all over Europe, that would give them a reason to finally create a one world army, which they've been wanting to for such a long time, where the United Nations troops, the United Nations military, and the American military joins together into one world army, there to control us, not to protect us. Also, I believe they would use this to shut down the internet as we know it, to totally censor it, because these terrorist groups are so dangerous and they've been using Twitter and Facebook and whatever. So we need to shut that down, because we really care for you, and we're so, we want the best for you. So we will gag you. We will ban all type of programs like your show, Alfred, because you're dangerous. And then they would then have a major step forward to create an internet that is totally based on commercials and a very limited type of information where they would choose. So we have a massive possibility to global censorship through a thing like that, plus the creation of a one world army, plus all of these other things that could be used from their point of view. Use it as even more, start civil wars, because people would be so pissed off with immigrants, that have been blamed for so much, that this would be the spark that they've been waiting for, to just create absolute mayhem, so that they would just have to go and do and activate martial law to stop civil wars. So suddenly we have the possibility of martial law in multiple different countries, maybe in the whole of Europe, to also there for our protection. In with the tanks, in with military, all for our protection. And thank you and goodbye, freedom. And then they said that they would have a meeting on the 15th of November There was a Twitter account connected to this meeting called #Mayor of London. Mayor of London. And in that, they would then reevaluate the outcome of this operation, and then that would be the base for some kind of total exercise. I think it's called Total Exercise something 2020, which I believe is, in their dreams, the complete takeover of the planet. I don't know if I'm exaggerating or what you think about this, but I think we're dead on. So, Alfred, either I'm full of it and I was just exaggerating, or we would have seen at least 39 plus 2 major drills being carried out in Europe. As far as I know, instead of a tsunami wave of terror or drills, we've seen like a few little waves here and there. There's been like minor things in Sweden. There's been a crap thing in Oslo where somebody is said to have stolen an ambulance and driven it into and killing some people. They arrest him. What is right in front of him? A shoe. You know, the shoes. Oh, God. We have an attack in Halle, in Limburg, in Germany. What is there? The shoe when he's being arrested. And it's a copycat of the Christchurch thing. No, that's in Halle, I think. Anyway, minor thing. But instead, we've had an emergency meeting in Brussels. I have this from military intel and also a reporter, a freelance reporter in Brussels, who said that he feels he had been having the feeling that something really big was building up, but he couldn't understand what it was. And then he saw my red alert, and he said suddenly everything fell into place. So he told me that now they're having a series of emergency meetings in Brussels, in the headquarters of NATO, where all the different defense ministers from all different NATO countries were being called together, plus 2, I think, military advisors, US military advisors that were in Israel that were called to these meetings as well. And then on the 25th, the day after this whole thing should have gone down, but still within the span of 36 hours, we had an opening of the United Nations, where the Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg opened the meeting. This Jens Stoltenberg is one of the key people in the massacre in Norway, the blowing up of the government. He was the Prime Minister of Norway at the time, and the massacre of out on the small island Utøya, where a lot of teenagers said to have been shot. In my world, he is one of the key players in that operation, a Bilderberger, together with another Bilderberger, Gro Harlem Brundtland, who was on the island she was a former prime minister. She was on the island just 1 hour before the shooting started. She just left the island and boom, the shooting started. And she is one of the main architects of Agenda 21. Go figure once again. Can you believe it? Anyway, so Jens Stoltenberg, now the Secretary General of the United Nations, who his whole youth was totally against NATO, then this thing happened and he was suddenly appointed Secretary General of NATO. He opens this meeting. You can find on YouTube his voice, I kid you not, he looks terrified and he speaks like that. Welcome to this meeting of the United Nations. I tell you, they're shitting themselves. That is what's going on. They are, because they cannot cover their tracks. It's like, imagine the biggest gold heist ever, and it's underground. They've been planning it for years and years and years, and they're all down there. You know, they're just about to open the safe. Just when they open the safe, somebody switches the light on, and there are hundreds of TV cameras and 100,000 people pointing at them saying, we see you. That is exactly, I believe, what has happened. And the tracks of these, 500 meetings and all the connecting networks and who's in doing what, I think we've broken the back of this beast, I tell you.
Wow. So what do you think is their plan B? Do do they have a plan B, or is their plan B, let's lay low for a while? What do you think they are doing, or is their back broken? What is their
I don't think there is a plan B. I mean, how can you, they were not expecting this. It was just by divine coincidence that I was sent this email with this information. I had no idea. I had no idea. And the person who sent it to me didn't know what she was sending. She just said, look what I found. And I started reading. I almost fell off my chair. And my stomach just went into serious pain. I just felt, oh my God, oh my God, what is this? And so I started looking, digging further, and it's just like, holy crap, we're on the verge. I think this was planned to be even bigger than 9/11. That would be, we had the JFK as one major, turning point, 9/11 as the next one. I think this was the final one that just put us in this position where they would take over. So my stomach is still hurting, also because I'm not enjoying saying things like this about people who are very brutal in their nature. And it's quite scary. At the same time, what can I say? They have blown their own cover.
Right. So what do you think those of us who are into the truth and information should do now to really consolidate this? Should we have a series of programs? Should we have a conference? What are sort of next steps in terms of establishing kind of a new level that we should do?
Alfred, I have no idea. But what I do ask for is like spread it to as many as possible. Just share this information, just like we stopped it by exposing it.
Right.
Now I think they will do everything they can to divert our attention or cover their tracks, but it's on a scale that they won't be able to. One thing that would be very helpful is that if people around the world would look into major drills that were supposed to go down on October 23rd and 24th with a duration of 36 hours. I think every single NATO country will have their own name on this operation. So it will not be Operation Sea Eagle, that would be the Swedish name. But just like the Gladio network, like in Italy, it was Gladio. In Sweden, it's Stay Behind. In Denmark, it's Absalon. So every country had their own thing. Because I've been trying to find out about Operation Sea Eagle. I have not been able to find anything. And also, it's a national bird from that part of Sweden where one of these new nuclear power plants. Or not the national bird, it's that area's specific bird, the sea eagle. So I don't know if that is why they picked it or if there's any other idea. But I think that we will be able to find these drills will expose the name. So that would be very helpful if people can send these names to me from the different NATO countries. And also see if people can help me put this massive jigsaw together, like find out the connecting dots, and let's just expose the whole network so that there will be a lot of people pretty innocent in the whole machine of this, because it's very important for them to keep it totally compartmentalized. But there will be key players in this whole thing, as this Ole Dammegard, who will be very aware of the whole thing. And so to expose them, also expose these different conferences, who did what, who was where. And I believe there's something called the 100 Resilient Cities. This is just speculation at this point, but I do believe that might be a major network that is part of this whole global takeover, because that is what the plan is. And then also keep exposing companies like Crisis Solution and just and these different networks, just like make people responsible for that, for their actions. And if they can explain what they actually were thinking of doing, fine, if they can give a good explanation, but I don't think they can. And also, why these emergency meetings in Brussels? You know, because this is, it's such a disaster for them. They have been planning this for a long time. Can you imagine, like 500 meetings with multiple countries and you know, coordinating all of these, not only the operations, but all of the things with media and how all of these after things and military. I mean, it's massive. And now, due to somebody's big ego, because it's very often the ego that makes people become careless, they've shot themselves in the foot, and now there's no way out.
Let me ask you something. The one date that today's October 27th, and the one date and place that keeps on coming up is Seattle, November 3rd, 2019.
Yeah.
Could you talk to us about that? Have you gotten any information on that?
I have heard from about 200 people about Seattle, the 3rd of November. So in my book, that would be a total giveaway that is not going to happen. I would say it's a perfect diversion. They always put diversions, you know, look over here, so you don't notice what is going on behind the real scenes. That, I don't know, I have found nothing. I've seen the videos. I mean, so many people have sent this video with a German guy who's pointing out that some dancing Japanese people pointed towards Seattle. And I mean, maybe he's dead on, I don't know. But if so, then it was spread to too many for this to go down, because so many are aware of it. I see it everywhere on the internet. So no way would they do it. But in my world, it was a diversion. There's always a diversion. Look over here, and then they pull it off behind your back. So I don't believe that at all. Not at all.
Right. And do you, I'm just going to mention, obviously, the quote takedown of the ISIS figurehead al-Baghdadi, who was taken down today. How do you see that coming in?
Okay, so I love ISIS. I really love them, because the Corbett Report have made a wonderful video about the history of ISIS. If you don't remember, Al-Qaeda was the big threat, and Al-Qaeda is actually the name. It just means database in Arabic, and it's the CIA's database of their agents that were created during the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan. They trained Mujahideen fighters and so on to get rid of the Russians. Then Vladimir one day said, listen, I'm missing my vodka. So he said, I'm going to go home and I'll bring my friends with me. So they turned around the tanks and went home. Then the CIA stood there with like hundreds of well-trained guerrilla fighters that looked very fierce. And the name of the database was Al-Qaeda. So they started, what can we do with the database? Meaning, what can we do with Al-Qaeda? Let's use them. And so they created the Islamic terrorist with Al-Qaeda as the front figure. It's a boogeyman. It's a total CIA creation and a boogeyman. Anyway, after a few years, you couldn't even scare little kids anymore with Al-Qaeda. So what were you going to do? Because you need an outer enemy to control an empire. You need fear to control the masses. That's it. So what did they do? Overnight, I ask you, Alfred, where did ISIS come from? Did you see the slow buildup of this terrible, the worst threat the world has ever seen? Or did they appear overnight? I would suggest overnight. From one day to the other, ISIS were there. Okay, that is very scary. And so suddenly Al-Qaeda sort of disappeared in the horizon. In was ISIS. And the more we looked at ISIS, they started changing names on it. So it was ISIS, then IS, then ISIL, then Daesh, you know. And the first leader, forgive me if I haven't got this right, but I think his name was Wahesh. And he was quite an amazing guy because he was fighting. He was very brave. Then he was captured. He was wounded. He was put in jail. He escaped. He was killed. Then he was captured and wounded and then killed. So he died twice. It gives you hope because you sort of feel that reincarnation is there for us all. Then the new leader came in, and was his name like no, it was something that could be repeated so that we can spread fear, just like Zika or Ebola. These viruses are not sort of like a normal virus would have a Latin name like this, but Zika, or Ebola, so that you can keep spreading fear. And by the way, CDC is the one that have the patents for these viruses that they then start this whole fear propaganda, scare mongering tactique. That CDC was created at the same time as OSS, and it was part of Operation Paperclip, filled with Nazis, and they're the ones. NASA as well was created at the same time, Werner von Braun and his gang. So we're looking at the exact same Nazi background, military-oriented individuals that are there to destroy the world. Anyway, so we can't have like a really weird name if you're gonna scare the masses. You need like Jihadi Johnny or Jihadi Jane, not Abdul Karim Karunkara. You cannot have that because you need to be able to use us to spread the fear. So Jihadi Johnny, that works fine. And I love it because also he had an English accent while speaking Arabic. That's fantastic. So now they had to get a new leader of ISIS. And so who would it be? Would it be a name that would be able to repeat so that we could spread it? Well, al-Baghdadi. I kid you not, al-Baghdadi. Okay, so Baghdad and terror and bombs, that goes well with your subconscious. So al-Baghdadi appeared, and he was very successful. Then he was wounded, then he was captured, then he was killed, then he was wounded, captured, and killed. And so, I don't know if it was in the right order, if he died first and then captured, I can't remember, but it was, once again, it gave you faith in reincarnation. So, who did they replace him with? Al-Baghdadi number 2. That is amazing. A guy with the same name. Yay, baby, let's go for it. Let's just keep it rolling because people are so asleep that they won't even notice. And so they do that. And then they have the headquarters in Arizona. I have the exact address. When we pointed that out, they moved around. And all those pictures, sponsored by Toyota, by the way, all vehicles are Toyota. I had a friend contact the Toyota company saying, why the hell are you selling all of these vehicles to the greatest threat the world has ever seen? And they answered, according to him, they said, we have never sold a vehicle to ISIS. All of the vehicles were sold to the US State Department. My God, wake me up, Alice in Wonderland. So also, there was all of these photos of ISIS, have you noticed you never see in the background that they're outside any type of building that you can recognize or any kind of thing? It's always sort of right in the middle of a desert or in a gravel dump somewhere. So also nicely with green screen so that you can chop the people's head off with no problem, but there's multiple shadows on the ground because they've got the setup with multiple spotlights to get better light than me. On having here, this type of thing. And there was one pickup where one of the ISIS fighters was shooting a really heavy caliber machine gun from the back of this pickup. And on the side of the door, there is the name of a mining company in Texas. So how the hell did that pickup end up in Syria or Jordan or wherever ISIS was operating? Well, the thing was, in my world, the photos were taken in Arizona or Texas. And it's a massive, big joke, all of it. It does not exist. I've got photos with ISIS fighters. In the background, you've got the US aid tents, it's stamped on the tents, US aid. And, oh God, I just get tired, Alfred. It's just like, wake me up, wake me up. It's enough. So what was the question about ISIS? Sorry, I forgot.
Well, I think that you really answered it, because you showed that, like Operation Sea Eagle, which was synthetic terror that fell apart, ISIS was synthetic terror, and the quote al-Baghdadi. I mean, it seems like it's quite a coincidence that you have the October 22nd to 23rd Operation Sea Eagle. Then all of a sudden on October 27th, the great ISIS chieftain al-Baghdadi #2. Of course, they don't say that. I mean, it's filling all of the Sunday morning talk shows on all of the mainstream media. The president of the United States saying it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. You know, it just is, and you and I did a show where we showed that the current president of the United States was actually the capstone of the Las Vegas false flag. No, he was. You know, whether you're for him or against him, he actually was the capstone character of the Las Vegas false flag. Whether you like, and of course he runs a lot of casinos in Las Vegas. So I say that if you're looking at a company, at a production house that looks at the planet as their scenario for their false flags, well then they and their big false flag, you know, just hit, you know, went kaboom. Well, they you know, maybe they need a little bit of action. I mean, I'm just, it's
a diversion once again.
Yeah.
You know, it's look over here. It was just like Bin Laden was taken. I think that is amazing. Once again, this reincarnation stuff just really fascinates me, because he was apparently dead in 2001 already because of kidney failure. Also, there was Benazir Bhutto, the Prime Minister of Pakistan. She was doing an interview with BBC reporter David Frost, where she mentioned the guy who killed Bin Laden. She says it, and he doesn't even follow up with a question. Then they cut that out, and then Benazir Bhutto is assassinated. Okay, so I got both versions. So he is dead. Bin Laden is 100% totally dead. And then in 2011, suddenly there was another thing going down, a major scandal. And what happened? They found Bin Laden and they killed him. And it was just like, how heroic is that? And then they dumped his body, according to Muslim traditions, out at sea. Yeah, right. I mean, I have seen many Muslim graves. I've never seen anyone dump them out at sea, because they don't do that. They do not do that. That's just not it. And if you had just taken the biggest capture of ever, I mean, even when Jesse James was shot, he was traveling around with a like a circus type, where they showed his body on ice, you know, and sold tickets for it. And here, no, sorry, there's dumping out at sea. And also the photos from inside the helicopter, it's photoshopped from an image from inside the what is the movie, Black Hawk Down. I think that's the name of the movie. It's exactly there. And then they just Photoshop Bin Laden's head in. Well done, not. So, okay, so if now we're talking a massive collapse, they need a massive diversion for the masses. You know, so they're going to look over here, look over there. There's going to be a lot of this the next few days. Bam, boom, here, though. So we will not see and start focusing and say, listen, I see you. It's going to be like absolute freak out, just like when you hit a drug, some drug factory, Breaking Bad laboratory. They're going to flee in all different directions. They're going to try and flush down the drugs down the toilet, you know, get rid of the evidence. So I think there's a lot of people shredding documents at the moment, you know, sitting, sweating, just, oh my God, At least that's my hope, because that is karma for you, boys. That is karma. And you made the bed. Now you have to sleep in it. That's just the way it is. Just like the rest of us. We can't even park a car in the wrong place without being fined up over our ears. These are very, very serious accusations, like treason, that a lot of people have been involved in. So I don't envy them. I sure don't envy them. And at the same time, I'm very, very happy. I hope I'm a major boil in the butt. And I think it's very important that at this point, because this can go really into absolute chaos if it goes the wrong way, where also lynching times could be close. And if that is the case, then I will feel that I totally failed, because that is absolutely not the way forward. On the contrary, it's a matter of now we have a chance for the first time ever to lift this world to a whole new place, a wonderful future for all of us, if we can deal with it in the correct way. And that is fearless exposure. Let the truth do the work. Let the truth, not violent acts. Violence is their word. That's their language. And see what happens with revolution. It just gets worse and worse. Here we have a unique opportunity to transcend the whole thing. But we need to be very, very careful and be aware of our inner feelings and greed and anger and violence and so on. I mean, these people should be made responsible for what they've done. That is sure. I mean, you're a judge. You're much better than me of how to deal with these types of things. I have no idea. But our intent should be very pure. I think the purer, the better. And then let's just, once we get over this minor bump called the New World Order, then it's up to us to see, what are we going to do with this world? We messed it up by letting all of these psychopaths into power positions. Will we be able to deal with this when there's no longer anyone that we can blame? Can we deal with it? How can we, get Mother Earth, beautiful, generous Mother Earth, back in balance? We've been raping her for such a long time. Can we clean these oceans? Can we get things back the way it should be? I don't know, but I can't wait to begin. So I thought, first world peace, then a cold beer, a little kickback, maybe a puzzle, and then it's time for us to do the important stuff. The important stuff.
That just brought me. I don't know whether I know when you've had your say on a program and you've gotten out what it is that you want to say, you always like to conclude with a prayer, and it just seemed to me that you were building up to that moment. Is there anything that you had wanted to share that you haven't had an opportunity to share yet in this update?
I've been waiting for this moment for 39 years. I think I've been trying to expose what is going on. And I just feel, one part, my stomach is cramping because I'm a wee bit scared. At the same time, I just feel this is it. This is it. This is what we've been waiting for and fighting for and struggling for. Not fighting, but standing up for in a powerful way. I do not like the word fight for peace and so on. I think that's a total, but that we have been pushing ourselves towards and strengthening ourselves towards. So I think it's absolutely amazing times to be alive. And I think, I think one time on your show I was talking about the Hoover Dam, how the humanity is just like the Hoover Dam, where billions of liters of water or gallons of water have been put in prison, an invisible prison. I mean, most of the water don't see the wall, but they just don't feel well. Something is wrong, but they can't put their finger on what. And then a tiny little stream, a tiny little river is let out, and also to produce power to other forces, with great pressure that's forced out. So we have freedom, but we're still not feeling good. We're under all of this pressure. And so the only thing that needs to be done is one tiny little crack in that wall. And so I focused all of these years, I thought, instead of spreading out and trying to dig a little hole there, a little hole there, a little hole there, I've been trying to become like a laser point and also focus on the major parts that are the weapons against us, the false flag operation and assassinations. These ones I thought, I don't know about other stuff, but I will focus on this. And then just like a laser beam, just knock on the same spot over and 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 over again. I tell you, sooner or later, there will be a crack. And I think when that crack occurs, and I think that is what has happened now, the power of all of these billions of gallons of water, the power and pressure of that will just crack the whole wall like this, boom. So it's not a matter of a little tiny dot or drop here and there. It will just, the whole wall will just crash down super, super fast. And this is where it gets important, because there will be the holy scriptures of different religions. They talk about 3 days of darkness. I think these are the days where people are totally confused, especially people who are not spiritually trained to keep the inner balance, and where people will stagger around not understanding really what's going on, because it will look the same. But when this dark force let go of its grip around us, this deadly grip that has been keeping us in and just getting stronger and stronger for so many years, the feeling, just the way of breathing would be totally different and very confusing to people. So I think when this happened, it's very important for individuals that have been training themselves for years with meditation and kindness and gratitude, these type of values and virtues, to be the ones that can hold people's hand and guide them through what might look scary, but it will only be a passing period. And then on the other side, when things calms down, when the dust settles, that is when the real work starts. So if it's okay with you, Alfred, I would like to finish with this prayer.
Yes, please.
And it goes like this. It's the same as usual, but I would say it's more important than ever, the meaning of this prayer. And it goes like this. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. That is the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May everyone, and especially the ones who hurt us, be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May the light of truth overcome all darkness. That is all darkness. So victory to that light. And with that said, it's like, yee-haw, baby, it's party time on the other side. It's going to be amazing, amazing. But we need to do it in a beautiful way. Otherwise, this can turn into an absolute, total global massacre. And in that time, if that's the case, I would be totally ashamed of everyone who does that. And I would be so sad for my own involvement in this whole thing, because then it would be a lifetime of failure if I've been part of creating that. So I ask everyone to be very sensitive to what's going on, as fearless as possible, and also as compassionate as possible.
Well, thank you. Thank you for bringing us to this point. And we look forward to your joining us again, Ole, at the appropriate moment. And thank you for bringing this update to us.
Can I say once again, I want to thank you, everyone who was so fast to help and share this information. Without that, I would have been sitting in a van just shouting out in the dark. Nothing would have happened. It's the joint efforts of wonderful people like yourself and all of these people who have said, oh my God, I need to do something. Boom, 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 out with it, out with it, out. Suddenly it's the power of the masses that will really make the difference. And if I could be Also, I would very much like to make people aware of my website. It's lightonconspiracies.com. I've got a donation button, extremely appreciated. I've got a newsletter that comes out every month. And in the archives, you can also see all of these 18 false flag operations that are predicted on international radio up to 2 months before they actually happen. Now, with the last weekend here, or the 2 days, I think it's, if I'm correct, then we're up to 59. So it's like a pretty good track record. And so the only income I have is through my website, donations, my membership area, my newsletter, and my books. So if you feel that I'm doing a good job, because we're all sitting in the same boat, I would be very happy for some exchange of energy in the form of las pesetas, el dinero, la pasta, so that I can feed my family and enjoy life as so many of us.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, thank you
and
again.
I'm on Patreon as well.
Indeed. Well, thank you again, and Godspeed.
Godspeed is the word of the day.